today I'm right here above our sawmill landing where we mill, and I've got this small area. This is the pig pasture. The pigs have access to here, but I've got this small knob I've been wanting to clear out for multiple reasons. One is just like to get some more open ground, get some more grass growing. Two, a little more sunlight in the winter. In the wintertime, even with all the leaves off, these trees block direct sunlight to the sawmill pad. There's another reason for that on down the road, hopefully, when we start introducing solar to the sawmill shed. But then also, there's actually some millable trees in here. And in our desire to build silvopasture, there's a couple trees I want to thin out around them so they can flourish. So, enough talk. Let me get in here and show you what I got. Well, I guess in full disclosure, saying why I want to do this right now is the old girl actually was feeling a little sick after our Tennessee disaster recovery trip. My 391 ran like a scalded dog down there. It just ran great. We cut up a ton of wood those 5 days we were down there. But when I got her back, she just didn't want to run. It's like she's constantly flooded out. So went through the entire carburetor, got it all cleaned up. She appears to be running now. So this is really going to be a test as well to make sure she's okay. But you can see where we're standing. There's a sawmill behind us. Everything from this point down, there's like a little point of trees. I'm not quite sure why I left those years ago when I started clearing this. But there's a lot of small, thin stuff here that will go straight to the chipper. There's some smaller poplar, some scruffy looking stuff. There's a little dogwood there. Some smaller hickory, like 1/2-inch diameter hickory. But this is the one I want to keep. This is a hickory, pignut hickory, I believe. And she's really in a lot of competition with everybody around her. So it's really not giving her the opportunity to produce lots of limbs, ergo producing mast for my pigs to be able to enjoy. Let me show you. So you can see she is a little bit shorter than this poplar to the left. And then over here, we've got a white oak who's much shorter, the one with the leaves still on it. And then a Virginia pine back there that's competing with her as well. So this white oak and pine cluster and this poplar, the smaller poplar, and that poplar, ridiculous, look at that thing. It's taking the opportunity for her to keep from growing. It's taking away from her opportunity to keep growing limbs this direction. And this is south facing, so that would be best for her as well anyway. So I think what we're going to do is work on thinning this stuff out. And that Virginia pine is millable. It's got a little bit of a curve to it, but it's millable. That poplar is garbage. This poplar's small, but it has some millable characteristics to it. And there's another one there and another one here, and then one behind me. So we've got probably four millable poplar right here in this stand. One Virginia pine. This cherry, not in good shape to mill, but pretty tall. I may take her down, but not right now. Right now I just want to thin out this small stuff that's going to go in the chipper, and then we'll harvest this poplar because it can be ready to go on the mill for another project. All right, that really cleared out a lot pretty quickly. The easy part is putting it on the ground. The hard part is cleaning it up. So you saw with the MS-391 ran great. Only had one time where I had to pull it 3 times to get it started again. So I think I'm working out some of the funk in the carb. But that did great. Got everything on the ground. Only had one tree go the wrong way. It was this double trunk poplar. It went uphill. I didn't think I needed to do much of a wedge, and it just went the other way. No big deal. Wanted everything to come this way, so I grab it easy. This big poplar, I went ahead and put it down on the ground and put it at an angle, because if I felled it this way, then it would cover both my roads, whereas this way got the top right near the staging area. So I can cut up what's blocking my road, get the chipper, get that going. Probably only have an hour of daylight left. So I have to pick up this on the next day when it's not raining and I have some outside time. But let's see what we can get cleaned up and maybe get some chips made. Kimmy? Are we done? All those sticks we chewed up. Did you get to chew up any of them? I saved that one just for you. Ready? All right, so we're just about out of daylight, and I got about a half trailer load of wood chips. Got my road opened up. There's still obviously a ton of stuff to chip. I'll show you guys here in a second. But happy with what I was able to get done. Happy with how the saw ran too. So as you can see, that opened up a lot of that knoll there. You may be wondering why I left this little straggler over here. That's a locust, and it's still alive, so I'm going to leave it. It's not creating much of a canopy at all. But when I cut it, then I want to use it for fence posts. I don't want to chip it up. When we get those millable trees, those other poplar and that one Virginia pine out, open that up quite a bit. This little hickory tree should be able to flourish. And then what's be amazing, within 3 years, that thing will just be inundated with branches all the way down to grazing level for the pigs. And of course, each one of those branches has the potential for creating mast, hickory nuts, which is free protein for the pigs. So there's our trailer load, about half full. Got a little bit go over the side, but not too crazy. So normally I would take that to the chickens, which was all the way up there, put that in the chicken church. But since I don't have a full load, I'm just going to park that down here until I can chip some more and get another load. All right, so you saw some time lapse of day 2 there, and I was racing against two things: daylight, or darkness, I guess, racing against darkness, and running out of diesel. I was dangerous close to running out of diesel in the tractor, and my main tank was empty, which shame on me. So I had to go out and get that filled yesterday. So I don't know if you can hear, but I've got the tractor warming up in the background. So all of that focus on diesel and daylight really wasn't paying attention to the trailer, and I got the trailer pretty daggone full. I brought it out here to the front of the workshop because the tire, I knew I was not going to be able to take it up to the chickens on that day because it was above freezing. The road up the mountain is really muddy right now, or it was. Now it's about 20 degrees. It was down in the teens last night, so I think the road may be crunchy enough to get that up there. But what I'm going to do is the point of bringing the trailer over here is this tire on my side, it goes flat pretty fast if there's a load on the trailer. It's got a crack in the sidewall, tire needs to be replaced. But so I moved it here just in case I had to put air in it. But I think I'm going to finish chipping, and what I'm going to do is just chip into the muddy spot there in front of my log rack, and that will help mitigate some mud. Obviously it's not mud right now, but as that thaws out, mitigate some mud there with the last little bit of chipping I've got to do, and then I'll come back and take this on. If things go the way I'd like them to today, may fire up the mill with that poplar we rolled down, do a little bit of dimensional with it, and do some work here in the barn that'll help me get things better organized. So let's see what we can do with the wood chipper in this really cold. I don't mind the cold as much, it's just that wind kicks up. Whew, it's got a bite to it, doesn't it, Tim? All right, that takes care of everything, I believe. And got a pretty decent pile of chips here that will fill in our muddy spot. Very nice. Okay, so what's next? Everything's running the way I needed it to, so I think, just for the sake of good video, I'm going to hitch up the trailer to the side-by-side. I thought about dropping the chipper and taking the trailer up there with the tractor. No, the tractor will climb the mountain, no problem. But I think, as frozen as the ground is, I think we'll be okay. Famous last words, right? But I'll see if I can set up the camera. The part about setting up the camera is if I'm focused on trying to keep the camera rolling on the side-by-side, then I can't have both hands on the wheel. And so I'll try to find a way to set this up safely and still produce good video. We're stuck. Alright, see if we can back a trailer back down without going over the hill. Plan B, Tim. All right. Stay. Don't slide over the hill. Woo. Oh, frozen in there. I was afraid of that. Sweet Martha. All right, step with me into the barn here. And let's turn some light on the subject. So I spent quite a bit of time last week cleaning up the barn, believe it or not. And let me move you guys over, because if you've seen Bay 1 in the past, then you'll see the accomplishment that we've made. So yeah, you can actually see the floor back here. So I was able to clear out. I had just a bunch of things just needed to go away, like old totes that were no longer usable, and needed to get all my chicken water and chicken feed supplies up on the wall. So I spent a lot of time making some shelves, getting things higher up. Was able to move my big stainless steel sink that eventually will be in my chicken processing building if I ever build that. So got that out of Bay 2, up on the floor here at Bay 1. Was able to shove some stuff over it, under it. My grandpa's homemade wood burner that one of these days I plan to put in something. Got that tucked away. So that frees up space over here in Bay 2. So over here in Bay 2, I have some hay bales that don't have a lot of hay consumption going on right now. The pigs, they like to use it for bedding, and they'll chomp on a little bit of it, especially this time of year. But they're going to be gone soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So I want to keep this hay because we had such a bad drought this summer that hay is going to be very expensive until we get back to first cutting early summer, as long as we don't have a continued drought. So I'm not ready to just chuck this hay away or dispose of it. I want to store it. I thought about putting it up in the farrowing barn, but that's just too hard to get to in the wintertime. So what I want to do is sitting right now on a pallet. It doesn't look like it. The pallet's sunk down in the ground quite a bit. So I think I want to build a small subfloor, maybe not even the whole width, to get this hay off the ground further and be able to store it kind of tucked back here in the corner where I'm standing. The reason why, along this wall, I believe, I need to go take some measurements, I want to put my wood rack that's inside the workshop. And that's like, I'll show you here in a second, but it's kind of cobbled together from the old industrial shelving system from the company I used to manage before I went into business for myself 16 years ago, or 20 years ago, however long that was. So I'd like to put that here, so as I'm bringing stuff that's been air drying outside in for a final barn storage air dry before it goes to the shop, I'd like to do that here and then have that long ways. That would still give me plenty of room where you guys are standing to do my timber frame work. Got my timber frame sawhorses, all that type of stuff. I don't want that rack sitting up on a subfloor. I want it ground contact because all the weight of that wood will be substantial. So we'll even have to shore that up, put some cinder blocks underneath it there to shore that up so it doesn't sink in the ground. So that's what I'm thinking, but we need to take some measurements first. So to do measurements down here in the hole, obviously tape measure will take care of it, but this is where one of these little laser tapes come in handy. And Ink Irma sent me this one to play around with, and I thought this would be a good time to use it because I'm trying to get some abstract stuff here. So the neat thing about this, a little digital display on the side, feet, inches, decimal feet, or meters, gives you all those options. And what's cool is when you take a measurement and you go to take the next one, then it actually stores that first measurement in the LED display just kind of up above it, so you can get two measurements at a time. So like right here, if I wanted to figure out, okay, how wide is it from my subfloor in Bay 1 to the wall over here at the edge of Bay 2, we'll just take a little reading. And paint the laser on the wall, press it again, and that gives me 10 feet 4 inches and a quarter. So to store this hay, I think I want to be about ground height, or about floor height, which I built this. Okay, I built that using using a 2x10 and then 3/4 inch ply on top. All right, it is toasty warm here in the workshop. Makes me not want to go back out to the barn. So back here in all this mess is the wood rack. And currently is built but that's how I made it. So it's 4 feet deep. And then here's the catchy part. The length, as you can see, is set by the rails. What is that? That is, 8 feet exactly. So 8 feet in between my 4x4s. But as you can see, I've got a lot of wood stored on here that extends beyond. So if I come this way, trip over some things, and say, let's do a rough measurement from where I've got wood sticking out. That way I get an idea of clearance that I would have. It's my clearance. So that's 13 feet 8 inches. So that is obviously a lot more length. So let's go back to the barn and see what 4 by 13 will give me when it comes to interfering with my workspace. So each of these bays is broken up into 3 sections. That's how I built the barn. You know, loss over the center section I'm standing in here. And I believe these are 8 feet deep. The reason why is the workshop is 24 feet wide, and I built the barn the same width as the workshop. So support being here, so from here to here should be 8 feet. 8 feet exactly. 8 feet 9/16. So 13, what is it? That's 5 more feet. So that comes out probably to about right here. So let's look at that. 13.9. So about right here, and 4 feet wide. So yeah, so instead of running the hay long ways here, go 90 degrees against the back wall, but only 1 bale out. And shoot, as tall as that ceiling is, I don't know if it'd tip over. What's the width of a bale? About 20 inches. Maybe better off doing that, just making almost like a shelf in the back there. Running the hay long ways. What did I say these were? 3-foot bales? Oh yeah. 3 foot, 6 foot, 10 feet. All right, I think I got something figured out. So against the back wall, we'll make a 5 feet long subfloor or shelf or whatever you want to call it that comes out 3 feet. And that will allow me to do 3 bales side by side, long ways pointing this way, or 3 bales side by side with the 20 inches, and they'll be sticking out the length of the bale, 3 feet. And so there'll be three per row. And what do I have? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so 5 levels, 15, 16 bales. I think it's time to fire up the mill. As is typical with most projects of mine, things are in the way before I can get started, so the hay is in the way. Alright, so with that butt log of that poplar that we dropped, I ended up getting, what did I get, three? Yes, three true 2x8s, 12 foot long. And as I mentioned, I only need 5 feet in length, so I should get my 2 long runs out of one board and my stringers out of another one of the boards. So I should have a board extra, and then of course just end up with my typical cutoff at the bottom there that's just a little over 1 inch. Now I'm not going to, I could obviously cut this board and it'd be the tabletop or the surface top for that, but this is obviously very wet wood since we just milled it. So I'm not going to do that. Behind you all, I have some older pine that's been hanging up in the barn for decades, dare I say. So it's much drier. So we'll put that between the wet wood of our structural floor and the hay bales so we don't have direct contact with that moisture. I don't think I have to move my hay. It's going to be tight. So you guys are going to have to squeeze in there with me as we cut this. But let's get started and square up our ends and get our first rails ready. I grabbed the wrong work gloves. In fact, I can't find my work gloves that have the contact tips in them so I can activate the touch screen on the camera without having to take my gloves off. So these gloves actually have a hole in the thumbs. I keep sliding my thumb out of the hole to activate the screen, making the hole worse too. You want that, don't you? I can tell. You want that? All right, dog. I don't think you and I both can be back here. Don't think it's possible. A little tight. Excuse me. Pardon me. You seem to be in my workspace. You seem to be in my workspace, Mr. Floppy Ears. Would you make yourself useful and hold that board for me? What do you think? Hmm? Well, those things usually go in this cold weather. The camera battery died, so of course you didn't miss anything other than me just framing this up. Nothing spectacular there. Just use some leftover boards for the flooring. And it is level, believe it or not, but these backboards that are old stall walls, they got a little drift to them. But anyway, so I had to knock my hay stack over because of the overhang of the last board. I didn't want to rip it down. It has about a 2-inch lip, so I had to knock my hay bale down to be able to get it in here. So we'll stack some hay and see what that looks like. And to keep you guys from hearing me huff and puff all the time, I think we'll switch to a time lapse. Of course, wouldn't you know it? So my makeshift shelf that I made years ago has a board that sticks out. That impedes my ability. That's an old poplar board. Light as a feather now. Always one bale that throws everything off. Supposed to stagger stack, but I didn't think it'd be a big deal. Wedge him in there. All right, so I think that's going to work. These bales may fall over at some point. Oh well. But that gives me plenty of room here. Still have 5 feet plus to tuck my wood rack back in here. Obviously got to move my concrete mixer. Get it out of the way, find a new spot for it. May have to move it just right there. We'll see. But moving that wood rack is going to be a daunting task. That's one step below raising the Titanic, I believe, because of all the stuff that's in the way there. And I actually need to use up all the wood that's on it because it's super dry. I don't want to be bringing it back out here. So, who knows? So I want to get it done. We'll just have to figure out when we can get that taken care of. But I say we got a lot accomplished this week over the course of multiple days. Appreciate you guys watching. Pray you have a great week. Take care.